Good evening, everyone. If I could have your attention for a moment. My name's Craig Jeffrey. I'm the director of the Australia-India Institute, which has convened these drinks this evening. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all here and to extend a particular welcome to the Honourable Minister Prakash Javadekar and the delegation, Private Secretary Mandeep Bhandari, Mr. Subhash Rao, Senior Economic Advisor, Dr. Sarvara Kumar, the Joint Secretary. I'd also like to acknowledge and welcome Minister Donnellan from the Victorian State Government, representing the Victorian Government and who we'll hear from in a moment. I'd like to acknowledge and welcome a great friend of the Australia-India Institute, former Premier Ted Baillieu. I'd like to also welcome the Deputy Secretary, the Deputy High Commissioner, His Excellency, and the Consul General this evening. It's and all the distinguished guests representing academia, business, government and civil society. It's truly wonderful that you're all here. It's a very exciting moment. I'd like to start also by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land upon which we meet today, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and acknowledge the important relationship of the University of Melbourne to the Wurundjeri people. The Australia-India Institute is an institute that is anchored in research, but one of the wonderful things about running this institute is one gets to work across a number of sectors: academia, government, business and the community. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank particularly the Department of Education and Training, which on Friday announced $5 million of new funding for the Australia-India Institute. Thank you. Karen Sandercock is here to represent DET, so we're very grateful to you personally as well, Karen, for facilitating that support. I'd also like to thank the Victorian Government for their support of the Australia-India Institute, the University of Melbourne, and also the other universities who support in kind and provide moral support for the Australia-India Institute and its national mandate. We're standing this evening in a nation, in a city, in a university, and certainly with reference to an institute that's deeply passionate about India, and which is also deeply entangled with India. And personally, it's been a great pleasure, Minister, to get time to speak to you over the past few days and with your colleagues. Without any further ado, though, I would like to now introduce Minister Luke Donnellan, who's the Victorian Minister for Road Transport and Safety, who is going to say a few words of welcome on behalf of the Victorian Government. Minister.
Thanks, Craig. Thank you very much. I'd like to also begin by acknowledging the traditional owners upon the land we sit and pay my respects to our elders past and present. It's a incredible pleasure to welcome you here today, Minister. It's just so important, I think, in terms of for Victoria and for our relationship with India that we're very fortunate to have people like yourselves visiting here, and so that we can share ideas and alike. I'd also like to acknowledge Ted Baillieu, who has been an incredible has had an incredible focus and a desire to build the relationship at a state level and has done a very good job. As I look forward today, I sort of see potential for enormous friendship which already exists, but a growing friendship between India and Australia. Very much how we can contribute together to the growth of both nations. The Indian community in Australia makes an incredible contribution, whether it be in the arts, education, whether it be in food, but I guess more than anything else with a passion in my family, cricket, which has taken our cricket participation, the sport of cricket, to the most anticipated sport in Australia. And it is our Indian and to a lesser extent our Sri Lankan community, which has taken that up with enormous passion. And I can say Cricket Victoria and Cricket Australia are incredibly grateful for that. These strong ties will only continue as the Andrews Labor government has brought about Victoria's India strategy, our shared future plan. It's a plan to celebrate our personal connections with India and to form foundations for a mutually beneficial partnership. India is the fastest growing economy in the world and is the third largest economy in GDP terms. There are over 400 millennials in India today, and as my uncle, who is a trade commissioner in India, a high commissioner, New Delhi indicated many years ago the potential India is just mind-blowing in terms of the middle class, in terms of the youth of the country, and so forth. There's 209,000 Victorians of Indian ancestry, and 169,000 were born in India. That is very much why the India trade strategy is so important, that we will establish the Premier Victoria's India relationship dialogue to enable ongoing engagement in areas of specific interest. We will continue to host the Australia-India Dialogue in Melbourne as an exclusive Australian state government partner to promote the important connections between Victoria's and India's young leaders. And we'll also be appointing further business ambassadors to champion the Victoria-India relationship throughout many of the Indian states. I hope very much that we continue, I guess more than anything else, at state government level, to continue to build these relations, to continue to work hard, to build those friendships, to build that trade, so that we all can grow together and very much enjoy a marvellous future. And I hope very much more than anything else you actually enjoy your stay here, Minister, and get to enjoy some recreation, which I suspect would be pretty limited. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'd now like to call on Deputy Vice-Chancellor International, Carolyn Evans, Professor Carolyn Evans, former Dean of the Law School, which is also housed in this building, to say a few words on behalf of the University of Melbourne.
Well, thank you, Craig, and thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the time to join us here tonight. May I particularly acknowledge among many distinguished visitors with us the former Premier of Victoria, the Honourable Ted Baillieu, Minister Luke Donnellan, from whom we just heard, and the Honourable Minister for Human Development, Sri Javadekar. All other members of the Indian delegation as well who've travelled to Australia to help deepen the ties between our two countries. Well, it's a great privilege and honour to add my words of welcome in this event to the University of Melbourne. As Craig had said, this is enormously exciting times to be talking about the relationship between our two countries. At the national level in Australia, the government has commissioned an India economic strategy, and we look forward to seeing more of that soon. You've just heard a strong discussion of the state government's India strategy, which we were very pleased to launch here earlier this year. And the city of Melbourne itself has been transformed over the last few decades by the energies, talents and hard work of generations of Indian migrants. These changes, unsurprisingly, have also been reflected here at the University of Melbourne, as they have in so many universities across this country. We're very fortunate, we're delighted to attract excellent students from India who want to take advantage of the world-class interdisciplinary and engaged teaching that we offer here across many different disciplines. We participated with India in a series of wonderful research projects via the Australia-India Strategic Research Fund, and many of our students are increasingly travelling to India, and I think this is one of the wonderful developments of more recent years. This is not a one-way relationship anymore, it's much more a two-way relationship, and I'd particularly like to acknowledge the important role of the new Colombo Plan in that. We host the Melbourne India Postgraduate Academy, a joint PhD and postdoctoral scheme with IITs in India, and we have close collaborations in medicine and a wide range of standalone teaching and research projects, from fine arts to physics, data modelling to design. Our collaborations also, very importantly, include hosting the Australia-India Institute, recently described by the Premier of this state as a jewel, an institute which specialises in engaged, problem-oriented research with India. And could I just take a moment to acknowledge Professor Craig Jeffrey for the extraordinary work he does in building relationships between our two countries. Much has been done and much has been achieved, but much remains to do. Here at the University of Melbourne, we have made India one of our priority countries for engagement over the next 3 years. We believe that our passion for developing interdisciplinary, problem-centred approaches to scholarships complements the approach, and we heard about this approach in the workshop this afternoon, initiatives underway in India. And we share with many institutions in India a determination to show how first-class research can be used to inform the work of business, government, and for the benefit of the whole community. Let me share just two quick examples from among many with you, and we heard many more from across Australia in the workshop this afternoon, and I'm sure this morning. On the teaching side, later this year, a group of students from the Bachelor of Design will travel to India, as previous groups have done, And they'll undertake an internship program that has them lodged in villages, homestaying with people in India, getting to know Indian families and Indian communities, and working with those communities on design-oriented problems, engineering problems that the community has identified and that the community works with the students on in a truly equal collaborative gesture. This has been an enormously successful internship program in the past, and again a beneficiary of the new Colombo Plan funding. In research, we've been working together on non-communicable diseases, and particularly tobacco control, problem in both of our countries, and an issue where we in Australia have been trying some innovative new regulatory regimes, which are very interesting in India, and there's much that we've learnt from the Indian approach here too. This increases the public health of both of our populations, and somewhere where a collaboration will be of only ongoing importance. These are just two examples from just one university. There are many more examples from across this university, from across the country. We are all keen, eager and willing to engage with our Indian counterparts in faculty and student mobility, in world-class research collaboration, online education, and in the end, making both of our communities better places in which to live. It will be a privilege this evening to have the opportunity to listen to the Minister's thoughts after several days in Australia of what these opportunities might provide us. Thank you.
Honourable Luke Donnellan, who is Minister for Roads and Road Safety, Mr. Ted Bellew, former Premier Victoria, Professor Caroline Evans, Vice Chancellor and Deputy Vice Chancellor, and Craig Jeffrey, who is soul of this Australia-India Institute, and friends and distinguished guests. I am very happy today because I travelled world over, but only Australia was missing. So now that Australia I have done, and I have enjoyed this last 5 days, and tomorrow will be my 6th day. And there was 4 days of our interaction with various universities, various players in education, and I just met acting Premier of Victoria, who is also Education Minister here, and we had very good bilateral, fruitful bilateral with Simon Birmingham, and we have also issued joint communique. We want to take our relationship to a next level. What Modi ji is doing is that he is taking friendship with all countries to a next level to forge real cooperation and to really engage with each other, which is a win-win formula and which becomes everybody gains from that. So that is how we are looking towards the relationship. Indian diaspora here is to a large extent as a country of 2.4 million people, very energetic, very entrepreneurial people. We have also a contribution, I think 600,000 Indians here, and more than 60,000 Indian students studying in Australia. So as you have established study in Australia for last 20-25 years, I have seen in my colleges also the banners of study in Australia. Now late, but I have started study in India program also. And the beauty of Australian, I interacted with Indian students. They are happy lot. They are getting real education, the real flexibility, the real research opportunity. And today we reviewed the research collaboration, joint working, and it was very meaningful with so many Indian institutes involved and so many Australian universities involved. It's a really a wonderful thing to see the action on ground, and as agriculture research was showing that not only they have research and published papers, but they have developed very important seeds and they have released also. So This is a fructifying relationship. There are actually, Indian community has a speciality. Our diaspora, which is 30 million, is staying in various 150 countries plus. But they assimilate in the country where they stay. They are not troublemakers. They are actually very good people where you can rely upon. That's the India's culture which they bring with them. And that is what I want to promote. And therefore this TSS and other things, I hope things will be very short-lived and more free flow of skilled Indian workers, of skilled people here. And students also is coming. We know we don't stop anybody. Anybody can learn anywhere where he wants. And we have very, very active joint cooperation. And so I hope that all this will result into better understanding, better natural relationship and enhanced relationship between Australia and India. And that's the purpose of Australia-India Institute. Thank you and all the best.
Well, that pretty much concludes formal proceedings. I would like to thank again Minister Javadekar and his delegation for taking the time to come to this reception and glorify this with their presence, and to the Department of Education and Training for organising the events over these 5 days, but particularly for their help in organising this evening. And Minister, I think one of the wonderful things about working with India is that it is a country that has such a deep respect for education. You think about the image of the Guru under the banyan tree and his chelas. So I think that's something that's being radiated, I think, from the students that we interact with in Melbourne, but also from the way that you've interacted with us over these few days. So जल्दी से वापस आना आपसे मिलके बहुत खुश है ठीक है. So thank you very much again.